vigilance, the action or state of keeping careful watch, standing guard, defending the bulwark between the righteous and the godless.
Our guest today is an amazing person, a truly gifted constitutional scholar by the name of Reagan Miller. Some of you may have heard of her. Welcome to the show, Reagan.
Hi, Grandpa.
Grandpa?
Uh-huh.
In fact, Reagan is my granddaughter, and she's a very, very special girl. And how old are you, Reagan?
I'm 12.
12 years old. Today on our show, we are going to talk about those who fell for the cause of liberty, as it's Memorial Day. And we're going to talk about those who may well fall for the lack of liberty. Those are our children that are absolutely at risk if we don't teach them. So, Reagan, why don't you treat us by sharing the preamble to the Constitution of the United States?
The preamble of the Constitution is, "We the people of the United States of America, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty, to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America."
Not bad. That's pretty good. Where did you learn that, Reagan?
I learned it last year by my 5th grade teacher.
So you learned that at school?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when you learned that, did they teach you what all of those things mean, or did they just say, memorize the preamble of the Constitution?
We just learned the preamble of the Constitution, but we didn't learn about what everything meant.
Oh, okay. So, folks, I want to be clear about this. Our schools will not teach our children, unless you have a truly exemplary school teacher, they are not going to teach our children the things that they need to know. There are important principles in that preamble that everyone must understand. Now, Reagan, the preamble of the Constitution talks about two different groups. It talks about one group, which is the people, and it talks about the other group, which is the government. They're creating the government with the Constitution. Which of those do you think is the more important group, the more powerful group? I'm going to give you a hint. What are the first 3 big words across the top of the Constitution?
We the people.
So, who is the most important?
The people.
The people, exactly right. Now, there's one other thing that I want to talk about. Just say the first line again of the preamble.
We the people of the United States of America, in order to form a more perfect union.
Stop. In order to form a more perfect union, Reagan, teach the people out there what that line means, in order to form a more perfect union.
That means to make a more godlike union.
A godlike union. Because the founders knew of only one person that was perfect. And who was that person?
Jesus Christ.
And they wanted to be like?
Jesus Christ.
And they wanted to form a union that was like?
Jesus Christ.
Reagan, you're so cool. I love my granddaughter, and I'm so glad that she's here today. And Reagan, you were awesome. If we want our children to know the things that they need to know in order to preserve their own liberty, they will be taught by us, not by their schools. Thanks, Reagan. That was my granddaughter, Reagan. Truly gifted and beautiful child who I'm very, very proud of. I was glad to have her on the show today to help me teach some principles. Principles that she understands, principles that most adults don't comprehend. Our children are in jeopardy. They are in harm's way. We scratch our heads and we look at the millennial generation screaming for safe places and screaming for free education, free clothes, free housing, free. This is not their fault. We get angry at them, but this is not their fault. This is our fault because we did not prepare them for the world in which they now live. I think maybe it's because we have sacrificed some pretty critical things. One thing I think we've lost track of is righteous priorities, proper priorities. I've watched a news story develop. In Cincinnati, a 4-year-old boy fell into a gorilla enclosure at a zoo. And a large silverback gorilla was being pretty aggressive with this young boy. And it was soon determined that either the boy would die or the gorilla must die. And so the gorilla was shot. And that's a sad thing. I recognize that. But I have watched in shock, but not surprise, as people rush to put together memorials and Facebook pages and all of this nonsense for this gorilla. You know what? That little boy lived. That's a victory. I can accept that. And what is also interesting to me, again, speaking of priorities, we're so concerned about the death of one gorilla, but I wonder, does anybody know how many innocent babies were murdered since the time they shot that gorilla and this very moment? Loss of priorities. Loss of morality. No one knows what morality means anymore. I looked at a study today that was very surprising to me. I saw it on The Blaze. It was actually originally published elsewhere. I don't recall. Doesn't matter. But they were asking the question, is moral truth absolute or relative? And so they did this large survey, and it was amazing to me that the vast majority of people believe that moral truth is relative. It's fluid. It's fluctuating. There's nothing absolute or concrete about it. Truth is what people say truth is. It's not solidified or quantified in any way. Only 35%. And that's across the board. Elders, boomers, Generation Xers, millennials, and so on. Only 35% believe that there is such a thing as absolute moral truth. Well, if our children don't know what truth is, if they don't know what morality is, then truth and morality is up for grabs. This is the world we live in today. Now here's the crazy thing. Only 35%, a small percentage of the people, believe in absolute moral truth. And yet, 80% of those surveyed believe that our country is morally on the wrong track. Well, hello. If we are morally on the wrong track, it's because there's only 35% of us that believe in absolute truth. Many of those who said that we are morally in trouble, they are the problem. And we pass this on to our children. Here in Idaho, we had the primary elections just a little over a week ago. When I was done voting, I stepped out into the parking lot and ran into a school teacher from our local school. This is a school teacher at the school where Reagan attends. I asked him, so what are you going to do about the Obama bathroom edict? And he looked at me kind of puzzled, like he didn't know what I was talking about, and he didn't. And I had to fill him in a little bit, and finally said, oh, yes, I understand what you're talking about now. And so I re-asked my question, what are you going to do about the Obama bathroom edict? His answer was so disturbing to me. He just said, we're going to do what they tell us to do. We're going to do what they tell us to do? We were walking across the parking lot when he delivered that answer, and I could only stop and say, really? I asked him, are you okay with men and boys in our girls' bathrooms and locker rooms? And he said, well, no. But he said, but our boys in our high school are good, and they will make the right decision. Now, he might be right this year. Maybe next. He might be right for a season or for, I don't know how long. But I said to him, the indoctrination is in full swing. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. It will occur. He said, well, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. As he swung into his truck, I said, it'll be too late by then. I don't think he heard me because he was obviously done listening. As he drove away, I thought, my gosh, is this a Christian? Is this an American? Is this really the father of young girls? And he is. He just doesn't care because it doesn't affect him immediately right now. He lacks the courage to stand. I wish I could talk to him a little bit further, because if I could, I would ask two other questions. The first one would be, what about the other girls? What about those who are being compelled to attend schools where these bathrooms are open, where their safety is at risk, where their privacy is a non-issue? What about these girls? Are they loved less of God? Are they less deserving of our support and our strength and our protection? What about these girls, Mr. School Teacher? Do they matter? The other question I would ask him, it would be virtually the same question, except I would say, what about your granddaughters and your granddaughters' children? What about them? Do their lives matter? Are they worthy of your protection and your love and your support? So on this Memorial Day, I am mindful, as I am ever mindful, of those who have sacrificed so much to provide everything for those of us who are not willing to sacrifice anything. I'm mindful of them. I'm grateful, and I honor them with my every breath. But this Memorial Day, I am also mindful of those who will lose their life because of a lack of liberty, because their fathers and their grandfathers lacked proper prioritization of important things, because they lacked the morality, because they lacked the courage to stand and protect and defend them. I think of these children. I worry for them. I pray for them every day. I hope you'll join me. I'm Lance Earl. I'll see you soon.